The Black Rose is feared by all, an invisible power that has guided empires, toppled kings, and shaped eras for centuries. But even the oldest and most powerful make mistakes. Piltover, yes, the failure was high profile, but what if I told you guys that there were others before it? Far more dangerous, deeper ones that almost destroyed the Black Rose itself from within. Today we will reveal all failures that the organization is trying to hide. It all started during the brutal tyranny of Mordekaiser, the Iron Revenant. Among his inner circle there was one who dared to rebel, LeBlanc. The sorceress decided to put an end to his insane obsession with power and immortality. Teaming up with Vladimir, she laid the foundation for a secret organization that later became known as the Black Rose. At first, everything went according to plan. By forming an alliance, LeBlanc and Vladimir organized a strike at the very core of Mordekaiser's power. While the tribes of Noxus began their conquest, LeBlanc vowed to cut off the immortal bastion, the heart of Mordekaiser's empire, from the Well of Souls, the source of his inhuman power. And it would seem that they achieved the impossible. The Black Rose drove Mordekaiser out of the material world, severing the connection between his soul and the armor that was hidden deep beneath his fortress. They even managed to seal his two faithful demons, Atakan and Tybalk. But this is where the story of their failure begins. Mordekaiser was not destroyed, only detained. LeBlanc knew that he would return, and from that moment on, her entire life turned into a desperate attempt to delay the inevitable. In order to prevent his return, she gathered mages, influential allies, and ancient artifacts, hoping to prepare for a new war. And the first bet was placed on something dangerous, the creation of living weapons. LeBlanc began cruel experiments on humans, trying to breed a creature capable of stopping Mordekaiser once and for all, and this decision turned into a disaster. While the demon Atakan remained sealed, LeBlanc decided to continue her dangerous games with another one of Mordekaiser's minions, the demon Tybalk. Upon learning of the existence of the Ravenbloom Conservatory, an elite academy for training mages, the Black Rose quickly put down roots there, becoming its secret patron. Among students was a girl named Emmeline Kiosar, the one who would later become Annie's mother. It was she who, by LeBlanc's decree, was chosen for the experiment. The girl was supposed to become a vessel for the fire demon Tybalk, to use his power for the good of the Empire and to fulfill the Black Rose's dark plans. But the experiment failed. Emmeline, realizing that she was being turned into a mere shell for the demon, fled from the eyes of the Black Rose and hid in the outskirts of Noxus. The demon Tybalk was lost, and with it, the control over one of the most powerful magical entities. This was the organization's second major failure, but it was only the beginning. Fate decided to punish LeBlanc even more painfully. Emmeline gave birth to a girl, Annie, a small, seemingly defenseless child, but when a deadly fever confined Annie to her bed, her mother took a desperate step. She summoned Tybalk once again and bound his essence to her daughter's teddy bear. Since then, the demon has become a part of Annie herself, not just a protector, but her shadow, a reflection of her anger and pain. Annie grew up amid tragedy, betrayal, and loss. Each of her emotions became a flash of destructive power. She could no longer hold back Tybalk, and when her passion took over, everything around her turned to ashes. Rumors of a little girl carrying a firestorm spread across Noxus. They reached Ravenbloom as well. Finn Reddick was sent to investigate. He had once known Emmeline, and when he saw Annie, he immediately realized who she was. Annie was taken to the conservatory where her mother had once studied, but the school staff did not consider that they could not control Annie, and the young pyromaniac burned the school to the ground, thus ruining one of the Black Rose's plans. But the Black Rose was not going to stop. While Ravenbloom was still smoking in ruins, its roots continued to slowly but inexorably entangle the world. LeBlanc spread her influence far beyond Noxus, allowing her shadows to penetrate the Freljord, the peaks of Targon, and the hot sands of Shirima. Every intrigue, every whisper was a part of a single plan to shake the world, to prepare it for the greater darkness, all under the cover of political games. But another blow to LeBlanc's ambitions was dealt by her own ally. Cassiopeia of the ancient house Ducatau and a member of the Black Rose was sent by her mother to search for a legendary Shuriman weapon. a gift worthy of LeBlanc. She dreamt of harnessing the power of the ancient desert gods, and Cassiopeia had to deliver it. Cassiopeia hires a group of guides, including Severe, to find an ancient tomb. When she finds it, Cassiopeia drives a dagger into Severe's back and opens the tomb with her weapon. Renekton and Xerath break out of it. The spilled blood of Severe awakens Azir, the last emperor of Shurima. Thus, with one mistake, the Black Rose not only freed one of Runeterra's greatest threats in Xerath, but also unwittingly gave Shurima a chance for revival. Everything LeBlanc wanted turned out to be exactly the opposite. Even in the heart of the rotting streets of Zaun, the Black Rose tried to set its mechanisms in motion. In a Zaun bar, two members of the Black Rose, Lord Mallet and Lady Olvray, discussed plans to supply Hextech crystals and the devices for them. Everything was supposed to go off without a hitch, as it always does. But Zaun does not sleep. At first, the supply chain was disrupted. Rumor has it that Pike and Rek'Sai had a hand in it. But the final blow was struck by the boy with the chrono mechanism, Echo. The secret meeting turns into a fiasco when Echo shows up and plays the Black Rose members and their guards like a goddamn fiddle. Once again, the secret became a laughingstock. After the beginning of the Mage Rebellion led by Silas, the Black Rose decided to play its favorite game: subterfuge, substitution, and deception. A letter signed by the local ambassador came from Noxmerch, one of the key Demacian cities. But Tiana Crownguard, a woman who can sense lies, suspected something was wrong, a forgery, an illusion, and, as it later became known, the work of LeBlanc herself. Noxus hoped that the substitution would allow it to quietly take over the city without too much bloodshed, but Garen, Quinn, and Cythria arrived just in time. The illusion was dispelled and LeBlanc's plans were destroyed. Instead of gaining a strategic victory, the Black Rose suffered yet another failure, showing once again that even her magic is not almighty. Every day the Black Rose penetrated deeper into the highest circles of Noxus. They whispered in the ears of the nobility, sowed discord between the houses, and even manipulated the Grand General Borm Darkwill himself, whom they had once elevated to the throne. However, when he ascended to the pinnacle of power, he suddenly turned his back on their advice. This was the first wake-up call. Then LeBlanc decided to go all in. She noticed an ambitious and young nobleman named Jericho Swain. This was supposed to be their next victory, but in the future it will prove to be the greatest failure LeBlanc has yet to realize. Manipulating Swain, she pushes him to expose plots against Darkwill. Swain personally executed the most notorious conspirators. Among them were his own parents, who turned out to be agents of the Black Rose and whose whispers about the Pale Woman first warned him of the danger to Noxus, which he valued more than home or kin. Although Swain caused his parents' deaths, he dragged the organization into the open. Because of these unfavorable events, LeBlanc had to fake her death to stop the investigation. But even after retreating into the shadows, she did not give up. She continued to slowly poison Boram's mind, hoping to bring everything back under her control. But Swain was not the only headache for the Black Rose. There was a much darker project underway at the same time, an attempt to subjugate the great houses of Noxus through manipulation and magic. LeBlanc targeted the powerful Medara family. Two of the Black Rose's best agents, the Solari Rudo and Hemomancer Inyan, were tasked with placing Tafik Medara on the throne of House Medara, removing his rival, Mbessa, from the path. Inyan, obsessed with absolute control, began experimenting with flesh runes in an effort to create weaponized mages and implement a technique known as nullification, a ritual that strips one mage of their power to empower another to a terrifying level. But it was the cruelty of the experiments that became the weak link. Rudo could not bear what he saw, and turning away from the Black Rose, teamed up with Mbessa to destroy the project. It would seem that the threat had been eliminated, but the fruits of Inyan's work had already taken root. Although the Black Rose had made enemies who wanted to destroy the project, the experiments still continued, and it was over there that the organization's next failure would occur. LeBlanc discovered a girl with a rare gift for metal magic. Her name was Rel. The Pale Lady saw her as the perfect weapon against the return of Mordekaiser. Rel was taken to a hidden academy where she was forced to fight from the age of 8. After her victory, she was implanted with a magical sigil that enhanced her strength but caused pain. And then the Black Rose's fortunes went awry. At the age of 16, Rel uncovered a terrible truth. Her opponents were being stripped of their magic, turning their power into runes on her body. In a fit of rage and despair, Rel razed the academy to the ground and vowed to destroy the Black Rose and all of Noxus that had allowed these horrors to exist. Panicking, the Black Rose began to cover its tracks, but it was too late. The teachers of the academy began to die one by one, and the truth came out. Rel became not just a threat, but a living indictment of the entire Noxian regime. To get Rel back, LeBlanc employed a number of methods, including manipulating the renowned mercenary Samira through her instructor Indari. As the Black Rose tries to piece together its plans, Rel's crusades across Noxus constantly put their reputation in jeopardy. As the puppet named Borm Darkwill continued to cling to the throne, LeBlanc dug her claws deeper into his paranoia. Fear of death drove the Great General insane, and it was at this point that the Pale Woman channeled his desire for immortality in the direction she wanted. Under the guise of caring advice, she pushed Darkwill to invade Ionia, not for glory or territory, but for ancient Ionian magic and relics that he believed could grant him eternal life. When Noxus invaded Ionia, Darkwill began to act even more brazenly, redirecting entire units to search for anything that, according to rumors, could prolong mortal life. At first, everything went according to plan. Noxus advanced step by step, and the troops scoured the land for legendary relics, but then matters turned against them. The first failure in Ionia was an attempt to recover the rune sword that LeBlanc had enchanted herself and which had been given to Riven by Borm Darkwill for her extraordinary loyalty to the Empire. But during the invasion, Riven witnessed the death of her unit, sacrificed for the mission's success. This moment shook her faith in Noxus. Disillusioned and guilt-ridden, she deserted, breaking her sword and going into exile in Ionia. Knowing Riven's whereabouts, LeBlanc instructed the young peacemaker Tifaleni to recover the rune sword. Tifaleni gathered a group of Riven's former warrior sisters and they went to Ionia. As a result, the sword returned to Noxus, but it never reached the Black Rose because Riven escaped with it during the chaos caused by Viego's return. But the next failure was truly catastrophic. LeBlanc's eyes fell on Jericho Swain. Again, now not just a young patriarch but a strategist who had grown in power and influence. Given their previous encounter, which had cost the Black Rose its anonymity, the Pale Woman decided to remove Swain once and for all by arranging an ignominious death for him in Ionia. But as Swain lay on the verge of death after his arm was severed by the Ionian blades, a raven approached the feed. Looking into the bird's eyes, Swain saw a reflection of the cult he thought he had destroyed, a Black Rose, a Pale Woman, and her puppet Emperor. Swain realized that he had not defeated the hidden cabal and that they had betrayed him to what was meant to be his end. But Swain survived. When he returned, he not only bound the demon to his will but also led a coup d'etat. During the coup, the Black Rose took extreme measures in panic. The Blood Mages received an urgent order to create a living weapon that would have no natural needs. The result of the experiment was a pack of crazed, bloodthirsty creatures, one of which was Briar. Its creators hoped for a perfect killer, but it wanted only to feed and attacked indiscriminately. Although the living weapon did not turn out as the Black Rose had planned, the organization deployed Briar and other monstrosities when Swain rebelled against Darkwill. Yet even here the Black Rose failed and lost another of its toys. Swain's force captured every single one of them, Briar and Cyan in particular, and placed them in solitary confinement. As a result, Jericho Swain overthrew Darkwill, the lost LeBlanc puppet on the throne. The new Grand General was different. He sought no immortality, gold, or ancient relics. He wanted the glory of Noxus. And far more dangerous for the Black Rose was the fact that he could not be bribed. Swain ruined the Black Rose's plans and LeBlanc chose guile, removed the new Grand General with the hands of his old allies. She recruited Marcus Ducatol, long presumed dead, and with him his adopted son Talon. The task was simple: eliminate Swain. But there was one problem: Katarina, Marcus's own daughter, who had become a loyal ally of Swain. She too had to be removed. Marcus acted through deception. He appeared before Katarina, staging a return from a secret mission on Swain's orders, and convinced her that the Grand General had sent her on a suicide run to kill King Jarvan III and Luck's crown guard during the Mage Uprising in Demacia, anything to compromise House Ducatal. Although hesitant, Katarina agreed success would prove her loyalty, even if she had been betrayed. She found Lux, but seeing how she fought for justice spared her. Jarvan, however, did not survive. Katarina slew the king and vanished in the chaos. While fleeing, she was wounded by an arrow fired by Officer Jeridan, another conspirator. Katarina survived, and in Noxus she realized the true enemy knew too much about her family. She returned to Talon and he confessed that he had helped stage Marcus's death so Katarina would not hinder the plot to kill Swain. After learning the truth, Katarina headed to the Immortal Bastion. In their meeting, Marcus laid his cards on the table. In Swain's plan, Marcus was the real target, not Lux. And now he planned to blow himself and his daughter up with Wolf's Maw explosives. At the last moment, Swain intervened. He seized the charges and redirected the blast into Marcus, incinerating the traitor. Another Black Rose pawn fell. However, the worst thing for LeBlanc is not the failure itself, but that both Swain and Katarina now know. The Rose weaves its intrigues from the shadows, trying to rule the Empire unseen, and they can stop her. This confrontation is already unfolding in the cinematic Welcome to Noxus, where Katarina infiltrates the sealed ball at House Kythera's estate. But the ball is merely a cover. The real target is a masked guest, a key Black Rose asset guarded by Elise, placed by LeBlanc as the final barrier. Even she cannot halt the blade. Katarina slits the target's throat and fulfills Swain's orders. After the setback in Noxus, LeBlanc again turned her gaze to the Medara family. She trapped Kino, Ambassador's son, when he dug too deeply into Black Rose secrets while probing his father's death. His life was cut short, but the rest of the clan remained free. In Piltover, a Black Rose agent named Amara tried to assassinate Ambassador herself after learning she sought a Hextech weapon for vengeance. The attempt failed, and soon after the Black Rose kidnapped Ambassador's daughter Mel to learn whether she was the child they had long sought. LeBlanc imprisoned Mel in an illusionary chamber, the Oculorum, and tested her, masquerading as Mel's late brother. Mel pierced the illusion and, in that perilous instant, awakened her power, a blinding flash that shattered the spell. LeBlanc was pleased. She had uncovered Mel's magical potential and a possible ally. Mel joined the Black Rose, receiving an amulet through which she could summon LeBlanc. During the Battle of Hexgate, Mel did aid LeBlanc, and together with Caitlyn they disarmed Mbessa. When LeBlanc bound Mbessa with eternal chains to kill her, all seemed lost, until Mel turned her forces on LeBlanc, driving her influence from Piltover. Afterwards, she led her mother's forces and returned to Noxus. Although the Black Rose removed Mbessa, they now had a new, perhaps greater threat, Mel. Even LeBlanc admitted the failure, calling the Piltover operation a grave mistake. After that, she and Vladimir hatched new schemes. Despite the Hemomancer's doubts, LeBlanc chose to gamble on a far older power, the Darkin. Having lost the demon Tybog, now bound to Eni, the Black Rose turned to another being, the imprisoned demon Atakan. LeBlanc and Vladimir promised him freedom if he revealed the location of a darkened weapon. Though furious, Atakan complied, tracing an inked image on the wall that opened an Ionian gate to the spirit realm. LeBlanc rushed ahead while Vladimir remained wary. Without Noxus's backing, they were too exposed. Yet the Pale Woman believed the Darkin could be captured without the Grand General's aid. Having chained the demon again, they prepared for a fresh campaign. How this venture will end is still unknown. Would it be luck or another failure? Even the mightiest organization err, yet those who survive defeat are truly dangerous. And the Black Rose is precisely that. What do you guys think about the failures and the new plans of the Black Rose? Do share your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for joining me. If you enjoyed this video, please support our work by liking, subscribing, and hitting the bell. See you soon over a mug of the finest ale in all of Runeterra.